We are officially into the round of 8 as we welcome everybody here this evening to Homestead Miami Speedway for the FTF Grand National Series presented by Splash & Go. This is race number 30. This is the opportunity for 8 drivers to lock themselves up a spot into the Championship 4. And we are here tonight getting ready to race in the twilight of Southern Florida. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Samuel Dyer. And Sam, big opportunity here for these drivers. This is a track that in the past was associated with Championship Week, but now it's the track that may be deciding who's going to be battling for said championship.
Yeah, it really is. And some of these drivers that are starting in the back, it's kind of interesting to see them back here. Andrew Schwartz is going to be starting back in 35th position. Kane Cook in 33rd position. They're going to work through the field to get up front, but Briar LaPrade will have the pole with Brad Wright on his outside.
Briar LaPrade, the last couple of weeks, has been really, really good. Ran well a few weeks ago, almost picked up a checkered flag before contact to himself and Dylan Alt, and was strong last week as well. As the green flag is in the air, and we're racing in the round of 8.
Round of 8 is underway as they're taking a pretty nice start at the beginning here. Briar LaPrade going to be holding on that inside line, and a lot of these drivers going to be just trying to run the best they can. Get a good start here on the round of 8. You want to have a consistent run, finish in the top 15. Top 10 would be the best. But so far, we've got great battling going for second and third place.
Yeah, right behind them, you've got your playoff contenders lined up there. The 3 of Blake Reynolds, the 41 of Brian Mercurio, the 58 of Michael Frisch, the 31 of Derek Justice. All those drivers, you can add Michael Cozy Jr. in the 99 to that as well. Throw a blanket over them as the points coming into this race very, very tight as well. Only, I believe, Blake Reynolds about 8 points ahead of the cut line. Frisch is only 6 points ahead of the cut line. I mean, if there's a mistake here tonight, with a total of 43 drivers taking the green flag, there is a huge chance that a couple of these drivers could be heading into the next 2 weeks in must-win situations.
Yeah, you're hoping that you don't get caught up into anyone else's messes and to have a great run at the start. Speaking of messes, though, Kane Cook started on pit road, was not there for the grid, actually had to start on pit road in last place, about to be put a lap down.
That is not good for Kane Cook, who came into this race 2 points behind the cut line and going to have to work his way here through these next 132 laps to at least either stay on the lead lap or at least work his way back up into the top 10. As battle behind in the 9th position, that's Donovan Strauss, who we saw go to victory lane last week at the road course of the Charlotte Roval. He has Michael Cozy Jr. to his outside.
Yeah, and these are one of the more interesting areas because you want to battle hard with the drivers you're around, but at the same time, Strauss is right in the thick of things with these championship contenders, so he's got to be careful not to make any contact with them. Holding strong on the inside is Cozy right there on his rear bumper.
Just ahead, there's Michael Frisch. He's looking to the inside of Blake Reynolds. That would be a battle for the 5th position. Reynolds will hold onto it for the moment. One thing I'm seeing here, Sam, is some of these guys, they're not necessarily getting forced to the outside. They're going up there on purpose. If enough drivers run that outside line, we could see that second groove come into play, especially on the long run.
Yeah, that was something that was talked about with the drivers of you got to really build up the rubber there on that second groove if you want that outside line to work later in the night. And so far, a lot of drivers trying to make it work, and those that want to move up to the front, making the inside lane be their preferred area.
Race leader is Seth DeMerchant, and for those that may not recognize the name right off the bat, he was the winner at Oxford Plains. I thought I recognized the name, and he is back here again tonight at the Homestead Miami Speedway, seeing if he can go back to victory lane. He has opened up an 0.8 of a second gap back to Brad Wright. I mean, seeing so many of these drivers all running nose to tail, to see a driver pulling out that far ahead, that 59 car's on rails.
Yeah, and really during practice, he was running in the top about 10 for cars that were during practice. So this speed isn't really out of nowhere completely based off practice, but qualified third. And the fact that he's pulled away so much is super impressive. Our pole sitter, though, Briar LaPrade, is now dropping back quickly. Started first, now down to 6th place, and under fire, being passed here now by the 3.
Frisch got around him. Blake Reynolds now looks to the inside. You see that black number 40. That is Dylan Alt. Kind of unusual to see him without any sponsorship on his Toyota Supra. Dylan Alt, fourth in the playoff points coming to this one. Of course, won his way into the round of 8 a couple of weeks ago at Nashville.
Kane Cook, since we've gone green, he looked like he was going to be going a lap down. Actually, he's been starting to pull away from the leaders for a second. But, DeMerchant has started to catch him. He's about 3 seconds away from going a lap down.
What about some of our other drivers that you alluded to that are towards the back of the pack? Andrew Schwartz on the 67 right now running in the 32nd position. And this again, classic Andrew Schwartz, kind of ride towards the back. Schwartz coming into this race not really in a panic position. He may be 8th of the 8 playoff drivers, but he's only 4 points behind the cut line.
Yeah, and really Schwartz is going to be doing his usual thing. Of just slowly, methodically throughout the race, moving forward. But man, it's going to be tough as a car coming into the pits. Now it's going to be the 48 of Andy Margot coming in.
And this would, I would assume, this is unscheduled. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know what just happened to him, but man, the engine smoke erupting underneath that red, white, and blue 48 car. He has clobbered something, but there hasn't been a caution that's come out.
Yeah, back on lap 7, he was just clobbering the wall consistently, and it's just compiling over him. As back in lap number 6 as well, had some contact with other drivers around him as well there. So 48 machine looking like his day possibly could be done as he's in the pits and trying to get as many repairs done, but it's not looking good.
Now, on the good note for the drivers that advanced here into the round of 8, they've got a shot of battling for the championship. Unfortunately, last week at the Charlotte Roval, 4 drivers did not advance. We're looking at one of them here, Sean Butler in the 35, who's been consistent all season long, but it's been a really tough playoffs for him. He just moved into the 14th position. As was there contact there between the 17 and the 39, or maybe the 98? Because I saw some sparks.
Yeah, there was a slight contact with the wall and then a little bit of a bumper scrape between the 17 and the 98. It was the 17 Bahama that got into the wall there.
Reese Baham dropping back now after losing that momentum. Another driver that's a little bit further up that got eliminated last week. I thought he was in, but I only was calculating his points up to, I think at the time, Jake Poulin. I was not calculating up to Andrew Schwartz, and that's Brandon Hawkins, 2-time winner. He got eliminated from the playoffs last week. And, for guys like Brandon Hawkins, Sean Butler, as well as Jake Poulin, who's back in the field here tonight, these drivers now, the pressure's kind of off of them. They don't have to worry about consistent finishes to battle for a championship or to have a chance to battle for a championship. So now they can go out there, they can maybe try something different, be a little bit more aggressive, because there's no championship on the line for them anymore.
Yeah, no championship, but still wins to be grabbed. I think the whole entire field, though, at this moment, kind of in a what do we do type of a mode, as they have just caught up to Kane Cook, and Kane Cook is going to drop back, and he's got a lot of drivers behind him that are just about to swamp this 55 machine.
Kane Cook having to start from pit road right now, 1 lap down in the 35th position, and maybe the biggest cheerleader out there for a yellow flag to come out so that way he could get the free pass. It's quite a long ways up before race leader DeMerchant would catch up to 34th place Jonathan Palmieri. So there is a chance that maybe a yellow flag could save Kane Cook, but you can bet, Kane Cook, he's not going to roll over for these guys behind him because he's got to keep himself up here towards the front just in case Seth DeMerchant does catch up to the tail end of the field.
Yeah, and most of these drivers up front, we're staying pretty much in line. Kane Cook's going to make it side-by-side racing, but if you want to see some real crazy side-by-side racing, you got to drop back to around, believe that I was seeing it by the 17 car, and that was back in the middle of the field around 25th place. They have been staying side-by-side, almost going 3 wide at times, and just putting on a show in the middle of the field with Gary Watherby, Brown, as well as Baham, just putting on amazing drives.
Bright blue UFI machine of Justin Malello in the mix there. David Shieldhouse in the 20 car is back there also. One thing that I'm also looking at here with these drivers is, we've been able to go into a 16-lap run A lot of drivers took the green flag to start this race, a full field. They've been able to keep it clean and green so far. What are we looking at in terms of a fuel window for these drivers?
These drivers are most likely going to turn this race into a one-stopper. They're going to try to push this thing out to about lap 65 to 70 if they can. Some drivers might not feel too comfortable with that, but with staying in line, utilizing the draft the best that they can be saving fuel. Speaking of playoff drivers still running well and moving up, though, Andrew Schwartz started back in 35th position, dropped back to about 37th at his worst. He is now moving forward 3 wide with himself, the 17 and the 20.
Shieldhouse in the middle. Now he gets checked up from Travis Brown in the 0-1 up ahead of him in the Barstool Sports Mustang. Schwartz now looking for the spot on Shieldhouse. That's for 26th position, and I honestly feel that this is the round where all these 8 drivers are going to feel the pressure because none of them really have the playoff points to fall back on like they did during the round of 12.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we see...
Contact! Yikes! Ooh. That was Schwartz and Brown getting together as they were taking Evan Rice 3 wide. Sorry to cut you off there.
I mean, this is what I was telling you. Back here, they are just racing very recklessly at times. But at the same time, with all the drivers that are side by side back here, it's building up that groove to make that outside line work later on in the race. But I mean, like you were saying with the pressure for these playoff drivers, 6 of the 8 drivers still running up in the top 10 at the moment and trying to stay in the top 10 to get the best finish possible.
Trying to look here through the field, see if any new names of drivers that we haven't seen here recently. We talked about the 17 having his issues, Reese Baham, that this is his first start of the season. Daniel Day, there's a guy that I recognize. I've raced quite a bit with him. That in-and-out Chevrolet Camaro, currently in the 28th position. A little bit further back as well. How about the 25 car? That is Will Norton. It's not a name that I recognize. And also the 46 of Robert Dorman. So, you know, we're getting closer and closer to the end of the season, and still more and more drivers piquing the interest, wanting to join into the series and take part in an FTF event, even while there's drivers around them battling for a championship.
Yeah, we've seen Margot have issues in the back. He's still in pit road. Last car running in 43rd. Another machine has actually jumped out due to network issues. That's going to be Noah Carmichael that is going to be out of this race at the moment. For the 49 machine, looked like he's been kicked out network-wise with bad connection.
Take a look here at this 3rd through 6th lineup. Brian Mercurio, Michael Frisch, Derek Justice, and Blake Reynolds. The only driver of these 4 that came into this round of 8 below the cut line is the driver that's leading this group right now, Brian Mercurio. He was only 1 point behind Dylan Alt coming into this race. So I think we talked about this last week as well. It's so difficult looking at the 8 drivers that have advanced here into this next round. You could make a clear case for every single one of them to be into the final 4, but looking at Seth DeMerchant and Brad Wright out in front right now and DeMerchant pulling away, it may come down to who's going to point their way into the final 4 if we end up having non-playoff contenders win not only here, but at North Wilkesboro next week and in Martinsville 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, I mean, with North Wilkesboro as well as Martinsville, I mean, those are 2 tracks that are going to get chaotic. It's going to get messy. And these front runners, these 8 drivers hunting for the championship, those are going to be probably the most stressful races to see if you can win or even have your way to point yourself in, just because how chaotic it is going to be at those short tracks.
Yeah, next week at North Wilkesboro, our friends at LSR TV are going to have the call there. FTF takes an off week, then we're back to set up the championship 4 in November, and that will be at Martinsville, and then LSR TV has the call for the championship that will take place at ISM Raceway. Seth DeMerchant continues to show the way, has opened up 0.8 of a second back to Brad Wright, and it's side by side between some playoff contenders, Derek Justice and Michael Frisch.
Ooh, Frisch looked like he got a little bit loose there at it too, but able to hold on, and he's going to lose that position to Derek Justice, that 4th place position. Now goes to the 31 machine. Everyone else, though, racing pretty nicely, staying in line, single file racing, and for 24 laps, been green, and we'll see if we can keep it green coming to our green flag pit stops here in the next 20 laps or so.
Right now, we've got 6 of our top 8 in the points of our playoff drivers inside of the top 10. Actually, as soon as I say that, Dylan Alt just dropped from the 10th position back to 11th as Kevin McAdams got around him. The 2 drivers right now that would be outside of the top 10 as well, that would be Andrew Schwartz in 19th, and as we documented, Kane Cook trapped a lap down, currently in the 35th position.
Yeah, Olt's been getting pushed back a bit there. He's lost now 2 positions from being at 10th. Now he's back to 12th place as Brandon Hawkins is going to be able to get by. Speaking of, Andrew Schwartz and his conquering, moving up, he's now cracked the top 20 and now running in 19th place. And it really makes you wonder if Schwartz, with his qualifying, he doesn't put down qualifying times. He starts in the back. What would happen if this 97 machine was qualifying and started further up and was able to stay with our front runners? Where would he finish?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because he doesn't just do it at one particular track. He does it at every track. We saw him do it at the Charlotte Roval last week, had to slice and dice his way through the field. We see him do it at the super speedways, and here tonight, the 1.5 miles like Homestead Miami Speedway. I mentioned him moving his way up to the front. There's a couple of other drivers that I've been noticing that have steadily been moving their way to the front as well. We saw him make the pass moments ago on Dylan Alt. That's the 26th of Kevin McAdams. You drop back a little bit further, 14th place, you find Ryan Doucette. He was outside the top 20 about 10 laps ago. And Kyle Riley in the Outback Toyota Supra as well was outside the top 20 about 10 laps ago. He's now up inside of the top 15. So we're starting to see now, the longer this run goes on, who's been able to save their tires for the long run, who has used up their tires early on the short run.
Yeah, I mean, our biggest movers were drivers you just stated of Butler and Doucette. Butler has gone up a total of 15 positions since we've gone green. Doucette's gone up 20 positions since we've gone green. And Schwartz has been able to go up a total of 14 positions, which is actually 24 positions, for that 67 machine. So those are 3 of your biggest movers so far, and they've been just putting on a show so far.
Looking here at the 31 of Derek Justice. Justice has not been to victory lane, amazingly enough, since June 20th at Chicagoland. You remember at the beginning of the season, it was kind of a mano-a-mano, anything you can do, I can do better, between Blake Reynolds and Derek Justice. Now, Justice has been consistent this season, but it's been quite a long streak since we've seen that Baskin-Robbins Toyota Supra in victory lane, and obviously, he wants to be consistent and point his way into the playoffs, but if people are going to kind of look at him the same way they did at the beginning of the season, is this a time that 31 has to put himself back in victory lane?
I mean, being consistently in the top 5 is always the best moment for you. I mean, you would like to be winning, but you've got a lot of these drivers that showed up and been consistent at the end of this race. I mean, you've got DeMerchant and Wright who have just been doing fantastic. I mean, Wright's been qualifying in our top 3. I mean, for the last couple of broadcasts that we've done, he's just been quick up front. And it's probably the best run so far during the race that we've seen this 80 machine have.
Yeah, if I'm looking here at the races prior, or not prior, after Derek Justice last win at Chicagoland, drivers that have been to victory lane, a lot of them are his championship contenders here in this round of 8. Kane Cook, Blake Reynolds, Michael Frisch, Dylan Alt, Brian Mercurio. They've all been to victory lane between Justice's last win and tonight's race here at Homestead.
Yeah, I mean, thinking back at the start of the season, like you said, it was the Derek Justice and Blake Reynolds show, and then it turned into other drivers mixing it up, and that's when we started to see Michael Cosi Jr. come into things, and that 99 machine started to look like the third driver to mix it up with them, and like we've seen, this very long season we've been having so far, everyone else started to step up their game more and more as we got closer to playoff time. And since playoff time, everyone has just been fantastic, running in the top 15, top 10, almost throughout every race.
I think the saying, all good things come to those who wait, might be the epitome of the driver of the Subway Ford. Andrew Schwartz continuing to slowly work his way up towards the top 10. He just got around Kyle Riley for the 16th position. Ryan Williams is all that stands between him and a top 15 running position.
Yeah, and like looking at the lap times that this 67 machine's been putting down, he's looking like he's just as quick as the drivers are in the top 10. So would not be surprised coming here to whenever we have to do pit stops. Andrew Schwartz might be close to entering the top 10, and with fresh tires, who knows what the Subway machine's going to do.
A lot of drivers in the field, a lot of drivers going to be probably coming to pit road at the same time. Pit road's more than likely going to be very congested. Homestead's one of those tracks that has a wall separating the racetrack from pit lane, only 2 lanes coming down pit road. How difficult do you think pit road is going to be for these drivers? More importantly, those playoff contenders.
Pit road is going to be pretty treacherous for these drivers if they haven't practiced it enough, as the challenge for second place is underway. Derek Justice on the inside of the 80 of Brad Wright, trying to make this pass being made. Might be able to do it, and has updates for cars that are in the back. Travis Brown has parked that 01 machine in the back. It's just surprising to see, as well as Noah Carmichael has came back after internet issues, still running in 42nd, but trying to gain back any positions possible.
We're going to drop back and see if Kane Cook has made up any ground, and you talked about Travis Brown out of the race. He was able to pick up a spot there, as Cook still running in the 39th position, currently 1 lap down. It looks like Justin Malello in the 53 has come to pit lane, and this looks like it was a regularly scheduled stop for the driver out of Speed Inc.
Yeah, this is kind of setting him up for this to be a 2-stop strategy for Justin Malello to have the best tires to finish out this race, as trying to make sure he is set up when everyone else is probably going to be pitting probably around lap 65 to 70. Malello's probably going to come back into the pits again around lap 80 and try to run everyone else down.
Battle for 11th, Dylan Alt completing the pass back around Kevin McAdams, who passed him for that spot about 10 laps ago. A little bit further up, another battle. Blake Reynolds, rear deck lid full of Michael Frisch off of turn 2. And up ahead of them, Briar LaPrade putting the pressure on Brian Mercurio. So we got little 1v1 battles going on here all the way back, pretty much inside of the top 15.
Yeah, everyone's still trying to battle as hard as they can. And then if you go back in the 30th position, you still got other cars here still battling as well, all scattered. And with the drivers that have now come in to get fresh tires, you now got to be worrisome of how quick they're going to be going through the field, because right now, everyone is running about 3 seconds to 2.5 seconds off of what their best lap times are. So the speed difference is going to be drastic, and we might be seeing an accident pop up if these drivers aren't careful.
Well, problems for the 33 of Adam Kodal. Looks like that Honey Nut Cheerio Chevrolet Camaro has been up and into the wall. The whole right side pancaked, as he is slightly off the pace, trying to let the faster cars around. Looks like he's going to try and ride this thing out before having to make that pit stop, but looks like he's made some pretty heavy contact with the right side.
Yeah, also updates on other drivers that have parked their cars for the day. The 56 of Mike Fallon is now done.
Mike Fallon, another driver that's very well known in the community, a very good super speedway racer, but looks like he is going to be done for the day. And boy, Seth DeMerchant, I was talking about the gap he had opened up between himself and second place. Well, second place is now Derek Justice, and that gap I was talking about has been cut in half.
Yeah, Derek Justice running about a 10th faster than the 59 machine, and DeMerchant like you said, he pulled out to a massive lead. And the question is, did he run so quick that he burnt those tires up? And now we're seeing Justice, who was just lingering and waiting and slowly making his passes up. He's now running in second place. Derek Justice, who started back in 6th place, has now been slowly, methodically moving up, and it's worked out great for the 31 machine.
But as this battle for the lead starts to get closer, they are catching up to the tail end of the field. That's Robert Dorman in the 46. He goes way up, actually might have gotten into the wall to let these race leaders by. That is 31st place that they're about to put a lap down and do, and that actually blocked in Derek Justice.
And Derek Justice now going to get by the 46 machine, and just like that, the momentum as he's carrying it in, the 46 gets into the wall again, as Dorman just scraping that outside wall. And, that's just a little bit too high for helping put rubber into the track, but certainly helping in some fashion.
I think what he's trying to do is get out of the way of these race leaders, but I'm sure that not many drivers have had the experience here tonight of running right up against the wall, so not quite sure how to take the corner as Dorman continues to keep his car on the top side, now letting Blake Reynolds on by in the 3 machine. But the one driver that's not liking seeing these race leaders put cars a lap down, and that is Kane Cook, because every car that they put down a lap is one more car that he has to pass in order to get himself into a free pass position should we get a caution. But so far, we've remained clean and green.
Jake Poulin going to be now pulling that 00 into the pits, going to be getting 4 tires and hopefully getting back out there. Slight damage on the right side, so looks like he's scraped the wall and back out there after a little bit of repair and getting fresh 4-1s.
Ford went back and looked at Poulin on pit road. You saw the pass for the lead. Derek Justice made the move into turn 1, getting around Seth DeMerchant. So first time tonight that a playoff contender has led a lap at Homestead Miami Speedway, as Justice will do it here at the completion of lap 43. Jake Poulin back there, of course, did not make the grid in last week's race at the Charlotte Roval, thusly was eliminated from advancing into the round of 8. And I'm starting to see not only some drivers that have moved their way up even more here, Sam, like Andrew Schwartz up to 14th, but there are a couple of our playoff contenders that are slowly losing some spots as well. One of them looks like it could very well have been, if I saw correctly, the 40 of Dylan Alt. He lost about 2 spots in the last 5 laps.
And Dylan Alt's lost a couple positions, but Michael Frisch has been disconnected for the past about minute and a half, and I'm worried if he does not connect back here in about next 2 laps or so, iRacing will manually remove the 58 machine, and he's already gone 2 laps down.
Michael Frisch, 3-time winner this season, actually went in to the first playoff race this year and won at Las Vegas Motor Speedway to advance into this round of 8. And boy, what a heartbreak it would be for him if it's due to some kind of a technical problem that puts him into a tough situation heading into next week at North Wilkesboro. We'll keep you updated on that as Derek Justice continues to show the way. Let's drop back here. This is the battle for the 4th position, and it is nose to tail between Chevy, Toyota, and Chevy, Mercurio, LaPrade, and Reynolds.
It's pitting time. My numbers were off, I guess, as they are actually, whole entire field is getting ready to pit in the next 5 laps. They've already started in the back of the field, but Dylan Alt, one of the first drivers that was in the top 20 to come into the pits.
Like Casey Nemitz, Benjamin Fanning, Will Norton, they are in this lap as well. We'll keep an eye on our other drivers up here inside of the top 10, see if they elect to come to pit road here in the next 5 laps or so. Looks like Justice, for the moment, is staying out. The Merchant staying
Schwartz
out
in.
as well.
Andrew Schwartz, after we have stated he's fallen back, he needs fresh rubber to try to start moving forward as he'll be coming into the pits. Also looks like Williams is coming in and others getting set up for this.
Daniel Day, Jonathan Oates, Alex Cosgrove, who had a great run last week at the Charlotte Roval in that 66, also on the pit lane this time. And now we're waiting to see. Dylan Alt was the first of our playoff contenders to pit, so does that force the hand of guys like Justice and Mercurio? Looks like Ryan Williams in the 28 pitting this time by.
I mean, it doesn't really force their hand completely, right? I mean, the tire drop-off has been drastic. It's been now 2 seconds fully that they are losing time, and it's wild to look and see how much time these drivers are losing lap after lap. So there's going to be a lot of gains for the first 10 to 15 laps, but if our front runners can stay out there for another 5 laps or so, it could help them be able to really gain back all that time that they feel like they're losing now.
A couple of Ryans were on pit road moments ago. We showed you Ryan Williams. Ryan Pandicio in the 63 was also on pit lane. Looks like the 19 of Briar LaPrade. I don't know if he got loose there off of 2 or if he was indicating he was coming to pit road. Actually, I think it might have been the former. That car was all out of shape coming off the second corner.
Yeah, I mean, some of these drivers, they've been out there for coming to 50 laps now. So those tires have been worn down. A couple of machines, they were looking slightly loose as Kevin McAdams pulls it into the pits. One of the drivers that was running in 10th place before coming in. and everyone's going to be pushing it out there. But Seth, I mean, with the fact that we're seeing drivers with fresh tires going up against newer tires and old tires.
We got some smoke up here ahead of Justice. I didn't know if that was a wreck or not. I guess it was connection problems. Sorry to cut you off there, but
no,
we might have had a wreck in front of our leader.
Oh my goodness, they're 3 wide back as lap cars are trying to get by some of our leaders, but some of our leaders might be thinking stay out as long as possible so that if a caution does come out, you'll stay on the lead lap.
Except the Merchant, our pole sitter, he is on pit road. Last week's winner, Donovan Strauss, on pit lane as well. It's like we have about 14 drivers that are still yet to come to pit lane, and quite a good number of them are our Elite 8.
David Shieldhouse now coming in, and you know, with the drivers that are in the front, it's more of I don't want to give up that advantage, and I don't want to fall under, go a lap down if I'm pitting too soon. So everyone is trying to think of strategies how to beat the drivers that are around. So far, looking at the drivers that have pitted early and where they're running now, Ryan Doucette is ahead of Merchant, and others they're still all scattering as yellow's out. The strategy, the moment I was talking about, it has happened in the back. Pendicio involved.
63. Oh, wow. Right in front of the race leader there in the middle of turn 4. And it looks like more than a single car incident there.
No, he got completely ran over from a driver that had fresher tires than him. It was Cosgrove that came in and just completely ran over that machine.
And I do believe that actually Pendicio had been on pit road not too long ago. It was on fresh tires. It was just a difference in speed, I guess. And yeah, boy, it's a wonder.
They
didn't have more drivers caught up in that.
They caught up to the 17 car who still is on older tires. That's why they were trapped where they were at, and they just didn't have anywhere else to go.
Well, I definitely applaud the strategy of the drivers that decided to stay out. But we're going to ride on board here with race leader Derek Justice. Take a look at what he saw coming out of turn 4 here. When Pendicio had his problem, I mean, our race leader was nearly caught up in this thing.
Yeah, that's the issue sometimes when you're dealing with lap traffic, is if lap traffic has an issue, it can hurt you dramatically. As cars that are coming into the pits, Brandon Hawkins looks like he'll be staying out, trying to get a lap led. But a lot of drivers into the pits right now, trying to get services done. And coming out of pit road, it should be Derek Justice winning it out.
Well, I'm not... Well, yeah, okay. I was trying to figure out if maybe, just maybe, Ryan Doucette would maybe cycle around to the race leader, because at the timing of the yellow, Doucette had actually passed Derek Justice, putting himself back on the lead lap, and I wondered if maybe he would stay out, but it looks like right now Doucette is scored in the 13th position, though he is still on the lead lap, and I don't think he had to take a wave around or anything.
I think he might have been our lucky dog possibly here.
That is possible too. Oh yeah, I think you might be right, because the wreck took place much further up ahead of Derek Justice, and Justice might have been ahead of the 75 at the time the yellow was thrown. So Doucette, with getting back on the lead lap, looks like we would have 14 cars on the lead lap, and I think we can safely say a number of drivers are going to be taking the wave around here.
Yeah, so far looking like it's going to be all the way back to 23rd position, are trying to take the wave around. Even further than that, that is all the way back to 29th is the drivers that are trying to set up for the wave around here. Trying so hard to get up front. This is actually, though, Kane Cook. I mean, this just hurts for a machine that was so close to getting up to the lucky dog, but since everyone was pitting and shuffling everywhere, the 55 machine was not able to stay ahead. And right now, after coming to the pits, will be the first car one lap down, back in 33rd position.
But there's always a but. This is going to be the closest these drivers have all run to each other since the green flag dropped to start this race off. Got different drivers on different tires. Drivers that just pitted were on the lead lap. Drivers that are taking the wave around are anywhere from 3 to 13 laps on their tires. There could be a very quick yellow that comes out, getting Kane Cook back on the lead lap. The problem is he's going to be back in traffic too, so if the wreck happens, he has to make sure that he avoids it.
Yeah, the driver that I've got my eye on that I'm kind of nervous about just because of how old the tires are, that's going to be Justin Malello in the 51 machine. He's been out there for 21 laps on the tires that he's on compared to everyone else that just got 4 fresh ones.
So Justice is scheduled to be the leader when we go back green. Brad Wright would line up second. Blake Reynolds in third. Brian Mercurio in fourth. Briar LaPrade in fifth. By Michael Cozy Jr., Kyle Riley, Sean Butler, Brandon Hawkins, and John Poole III. Been a long time since we've mentioned John Poole III's name. He's taken part in a couple of the races here in FTF last couple of weeks, but has DNF'd early, so nice to see him running up there just inside of the top 10. Looks like Jonathan Palmari, Tristan Hagenstein, Reese Baham, Dylan Alt, and Ryan Doucette going to be the top 15, and those, I believe, were the drivers, if you include Doucette as the lucky dog, that were on the lead lap at the time that caution came out.
Yeah, and as you're doing your rundown, admins decided to put another caution lap out for these drivers just to make sure that they are organized properly and making sure that everyone is set and ready to go.
We are closing in on the halfway point of this race. It'd be at lap 67. And based on when all these drivers came to pit road, Sam, looks like they've got at least one more pit stop that they have to prepare for, and that should be probably somewhere in the vicinity of 15, 20 laps to go, I would think.
Yeah, these drivers we all know are going to be trying to aim to be out there as long as possible, and tires are going to be extremely important for these drivers. But here's the thing to throw out. We saw this strategy thrown in a different league that we broadcast last night for the for the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series. They were at Kansas and had a strategy call made for those drivers of, if we go green for the rest of this way, some drivers might want to push it as far as they can and then just do a splash and go and see if they've got enough time. I mean, if it's only 20 laps, you might be able to stay out there.
We'll see if any of these drivers might elect to do that here tonight as they line up 2 by 2 behind the pace truck. Will make the left-hand turn down to pit road, and for the first time here tonight, we are going to be restarting at Homestead Miami Speedway. It's playoff contender Derek Justice, a 7-time winner, leading them down to the green flag, and we're back underway here as Justice gets a really good restart, headed for 1.
Yeah, a massive restart where he was able to just move away from right. Now you got Blake Reynolds side by side with the 80 machine, trying to make sure that he could stay for second place and not allow Derek Justice to pull away from the rest of the field. We saw Seth DeMerchant. He was leading most of this race at the start. He's back in 14th place because he had to take a wave around on much older tires than some of the cars in front of him. Something to watch out for out there as these drivers continue on.
They were 3 wide mid-pack. They're going to go 3 wide here with DeMerchant. Dylan Alt in the middle. Evan Rice swinging around the outside. Look at Michael Frisch on the top side going around the outside of Cosgrove. Now he crosses to the inside of Pandicio.
And Frisch is going to be doing everything that he can. He is, at the moment, 8 laps down. So he's trying to unlap himself, then take a wave around or any type of advantage he can get here if a caution comes out. As really, Frisch is just, I have to get stay up front. He's on fresher tires than some of these cars out here. They're going to go 3 wide once again with Frisch and DeMerchant and others. It's just wild racing back here in the back.
Right there you've got Baham in the 17, Waterworth in the 12, the 33 of Adam Kodal, who is currently 2 laps down. They're racing 3 wide with Shieldhouse looking in the middle as the 12 got a little loose through the center of the corner. Kodal looks like he may back out of this battle. I mean, the timing of that caution, you've got lap machines intermingled with lead lap machines, so everybody is fighting tooth and nail right now, trying to battle for track position. Some of these are for position, some of these are not.
Yeah, and it's fresh tires against old tires. I mean, looking at the charts and where drivers are at right now, Ryan Doucette is going to probably be the one to watch out for in that 75 machine running in 23rd place. He's got some of the freshest tires out here in the cars that he's mingled with. He should be able to drive through this pack in the traffic very easily if there's space. He's looking pretty boxed in at the moment.
Look at the traffic that you're describing here as we're on board with the 73 of Jonathan Oates. Right now on the lead lap, running in the 18th position. And they are double wide, almost 3 wide up there ahead of him. A couple of cars way up against the wall. I can't tell if that might possibly be the 35 of Sean Butler up there. Way up there against the wall. Looks like a couple of cars having some connection problems as well. So you're having to deal with drivers taking all 3 lanes into the corner. A couple of drivers maybe blinking in front of you. I mean, it's mayhem for some of these drivers that are boxed in.
Completely, and if you move up to Andrew Schwartz, he's almost in a place where they almost went 4 wide for a second there, as he's still trying to make his ways forward, running in 16th place. Dylan Alt in 15th place. He's ahead of most of the traffic, as Schwartz is just mingled with a whole bunch of other machines that are 1-2 laps down.
Andrew Schwartz may be trying to pull off a Matt Crafton season. He's the only driver that came into this round of 8 that has not gone to victory lane, but consistency continues to win championships no matter what kind of a format it is. And Andrew Schwartz proving that here, as right now he is trying to catch up to Dylan Alt in the 40. That is the next car that would actually be for position with him, dealing with about 3 or 4 lap machines before he can get up there and battle for a spot inside the top 15.
Yeah, he's got to get by so many different cars in front of him before he can get to Alt, and then Alt's just, he's in the line of cars that are all that started on the lead lap, and they're trying to make their way forward, but they're all pretty much staying single file. Not a lot of passing going on, as it's kind of save your tires and hope that you can stick with Derek Justice to the end.
Ooh, how about this battle going on here? Contact! That was Palmieri getting a little bit of contact from Donovan Strauss, getting sent up into that middle groove. They hang on to it, though. It was 3 wide with Seth DeMerchant on the top side of that 3 wide situation going into 3.
And Palmieri is one of the drivers that has some of the freshest tires out on the field, so he's trying to make moves with drivers in front of him that are on older tires. So it's just looking difficult, and the closing rate is going to be something to watch out for. You have to be careful with all the different strategies that are being thrown out right now.
Sean Butler in the 35 in the middle of all of that as, Strauss gets tight that time going into turn 3. Almost got up into Butler. Right behind them, you've got John Poole the third in the 76, right now in the 13th position. Reese Baham behind him in 14th. They're about to make this a 6-man fight for spots up inside of the top 10.
And Dylan Alt's there, and then you've got the car that's 8 laps down, Michael Frisch, who's following behind those. You just got a line of machines. I mean, after Dylan Alt, that's when you start to see the intermingling of lead lap and lap cars.
Further up towards the front of the field, they are all lined up nose to tail from the lead back to about the 6th. Actually make that 7th position from Derek Justice back to Brandon Hawkins. And again, of these drivers up here in this top 7, we've got 6 of them, make that actually not 6, 4, well that's wishful thinking, 4 of them that are battling for a spot in the final 4 at ISM Raceway. Justice, Reynolds, Mercurio, and Cozy.
Yeah, I mean, at one point we had 6 of our top 8 in the top 10. Just now they're all scattered all over the place, and Dylan Alt, who started back in around 12th place, he's now dropped back to 15th on the much older tires. Talking about Strauss, he's been trying to move forward the best that he can. Right now in 16th place, just trying to hold off to everyone else. A lot of these drivers that are on the older tires, they're going to have to pit sooner than everyone else, and they're in the window of looking to have to pit here probably in the next 20 to 25 laps. A car that needs to pit way sooner than that's going to be Justin Malello back in 28th place. He's going to be the first car to pit for everyone else.
Well, one driver in the field is looking for the Homestead Suite. Now, no, they were not here at Homestead Miami Speedway earlier on this season, but they were here at the road course configuration back in March. Blake Reynolds took a checkered flag there, so trying to sweep the Homestead Miami races on the Speedway and road course configuration here this season in the FTF Grand National Series.
Yeah, rocking that Coca-Cola Cherry number 3 machine is Blake Reynolds, and He's really just been staying and hoping that he can stay close enough. Briar LaPrade, though, running in 4th place. We saw him drop all the way back to 6th, 7th place for a bit there. Now he's been trying to stay close to right and possibly make a pass here for 3rd place.
Yeah, Briar LaPrade has made the last 2 starts so far and was very, very good in both of them. Almost pulled off the victory a couple of weeks ago at Nashville before contact between himself and Dylan Alt sent him around on the final lap. LaPrade would finish in 11th and then ran very solidly, finished in the podium 3rd place last week at the Charlotte Roval. So that 19 car has got some pretty good numbers in the starts he's made this season.
And just an update on where some of the drivers are in the further back. And Kane Cook started on pit road, first car to go 1 lap down. He's running in 29th place at the moment. First car 1 lap down. So if a caution comes out at this moment, that 55 machine would get the lucky dog.
Yeah, the problem for Kane Cook right now is we are now into our 2nd long green flag run. Every lap that ticks away under green is 1 less lap that he's going to have to work with to pick up spots if he does get a lucky dog position. So he needs that caution sooner rather than later. Not saying that he's going to be able to work his way up there to win this race, but you know, with 60 laps to go, get the lucky dog, you could certainly work your way, I think, up into the top 5 because he's running lap times, you know, similar to drivers that are running up inside of the latter half of the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, this 55 machine is quick. I mean, he's like you said, he's running around those drivers. He's putting down the same pace as the drivers that he's around. And just compared to where he's at right now, positional-wise, he's doing great, but back in 29th place, it's such a struggle with the start that he had.
Yeah, and you don't really, I think, here with this round want to get off to a struggling start because of the fact that, as I said, the playoff points that drivers earned during the regular season, they don't carry over here into this round of 8. They only carried over into the round of 12, so the points are so close right now. I believe that it's 11 points separation between all 8 drivers coming into this race. The other reason, because we got North Wilkesboro and Martinsville coming up. I mean, who wants to put all their eggs into the basket of a track like that, of having to maybe try and win their way into the Final Four?
Yeah, Michael Frisch is in that window of, this is terrible, because it wasn't even like a driving on-track issue. It was an online issue. It was a connection issue that has hindered this 58 machine, who is now back in 39th place, who coming into this race was going to be 2nd on the board with a 6-second point gap to work with, and he was running in our top 10 before he had internet issues. As oh no, Wright gets a little bit of contact by Carmichael there, and into the wall was for the 80 machine.
Everyone's scattering to avoid the slower machine of Brad Wright, who had to gather it back up. You can see the right rear damage. Briar LaPrade, Brian Mercurio going to get around him, and obviously he's got that right side damage, but also with the fact that that spoiler is stuck up there in the air on the right rear, how's that going to affect him for the rest of this race aerodynamically?
I mean, it's going to hurt him. It's going to turn his back end now into a parachute when he's going down the back stretch. And then also it's going to affect him in the corners wise. Could be, causing him to get a little bit looser than what he wants to be. As that 80 machine was running in 3rd at the moment, and had a quick car on the short runs. This is disastrous for Brad Wright, who had a good run, being collected with a lap machine.
You know, it took a while before we saw on the first green flag run the race leaders catch up to the tail end of the field. It's going to be a lot quicker this time due to the fact we had a number of drivers take the wave around under that last caution. So, you know, if you're looking at this 31 of Derek Justice, we're going to go on board with him right now. He's got pretty clean racetrack ahead of him for the moment, but as those tires continue to wear on the wave around drivers, you can bet the 31 will be catching up to some traffic, probably, I would guess, within the next 15 to 20 laps, if those wave around cars don't pit by then.
Yeah, I mean, Carmichael is one of the drivers that really needs to pit. He's been out there for 52 laps on the tires and fuel, so he's looking to try to get on the inside, but right now hugging the outside lane and just trying not to be in anyone's way at the moment, as he's very close to the outside wall. But right now, Kane Cook isn't wanting anyone to go a lap down, as he's the first car 1 lap down, and the drivers that they are catching up to, first one would be Justin Malello. who they should be catching up to here, probably, like you said, in the next couple of laps. Is Brad Wright has dropped back dramatically because of that damage. He's back to 7th place, ducking it in, and is going to be taking it to the pits.
Yep, Brad Wright got forced up there to the 3rd groove in turn 3 while battling with Brandon Hawkins. Lost a ton of momentum and now going to bring it down to C. I would assume if they can get that damage fixed, and I think maybe this could be within the window if he makes the pit stop now, that possibly he could make it the rest of the way on fuel.
Well, it's 55 laps you go. I think this might be right on the cusp of it.
Justin Malello, 53. You mentioned he was the furthest out there on old tires. He was on pit road a lap ago as well.
Brad Wright, I believe he might have overshot his pits box.
It's going to be costly for a driver that's been up inside of the top 5. Started this race from the 2nd position. And, well, we mentioned the fact that at the beginning of the season it was Justice versus Reynolds. I think we're stepping back in time because Reynolds has now moved into the 2nd spot. He's about half a second behind Derek Justice. These two rekindle their rivalry here in the round of 8.
Yeah, but right now, Justice has slowly been starting to pull away from the rest of the field. Reynolds, for the longest time, was there within 3/10, 4/10, and now it's up to 5/10 and growing. It could turn into 6/10 here in the next 2 laps. And Justice just been hitting a rhythm spot and just has been on cruise control as Blake Reynolds is now, Derek Justice made that pass. Justin Malello has been lapped down. First car 1 lap down is actually going to be Kane Cook still, but he's got a lot of hungry drivers that are going to be trying to hunt him down. You know that with fresh tires, Brad Wright is going to be a car to watch out for, but he is still in the pits getting repairs done.
Great battling going on here between Seth DeMerchant and Donovan Strauss, a couple of former winners on the season, as DeMerchant will finally make the move there on Strauss, moving into the 9th position. And these two, they're going to make a little bit more contact there. That's about the 3rd time in the last 5 laps they've made a bit of contact with each other.
It's a little bit of contact, not enough to ruin each other's. Oh, DeMerchant! It's loose!
Wow!
What a save by that 59 machine.
I wasn't sure if the wall was going to save him. I wasn't sure if Strauss was going to save him. He didn't need either to save him. Somehow was able to keep that car straight as he was slideways off of turn 2.
And the 5 machine going to be using his bumper again. Oh, that contact was a little risky, but almost took each other out there.
Boy, this might be where you want to watch if we're going to possibly have a caution come out here. Closing on 50 to go as Strauss gets right up to the back bumper of DeMerchant. A couple of Supras duking it out just inside of the top 10. Oh, DeMerchant, was that a block or was he just trying to save the race car? I'm not sure, but they're still racing hard.
They are still extremely racing hard, and Strauss moving up a little bit, almost contact made.
Boy, DeMerchant, you know what he wanted to do. He wanted to cross over to the inside of Strauss. Strauss didn't give it to him. Now it's going to be DeMerchant on the top side. You'd think this was a battle for the race lead, but no, this is a battle for 9th place right now.
I understand we passed the halfway marker, and, tempers are going to start to flail. Tension is rising. It's all about getting up to the front. But, man, are these two racing hard as they're trying to catch up to Sean Butler. But with them racing as hard as they have, they've actually lost the 35 machine and is about a second in front of them.
And, of course, with the fact that we are closing in on what could potentially be the final pit stop of the day, it really is all going to come down to track position. I mean, who knows, between these two drivers, running in the 9th position could be the difference maker between finishing today with a top 5 run or not.
And other very good battles that are going on track is the battle for 13th place, where you've got Dylan Alt being challenged by Kevin McAdams and also others, as Alt's on the oldest tires compared to the cars that he's around, so he's at a major disadvantage during this run.
Obviously, with Kane Cook trapped a lap down and Michael Frisch currently multiple laps down after some connection issues, the two of them would be heading into North Wilkesboro next week outside of the cutoff line for the Final Four. I believe that Andrew Schwartz, even though he is still running very well in 14th place, I think he would be below the cut line, as well as Dylan Alt currently. But the points, I think, still would be close, especially between drivers like Alt, Justice, Reynolds, Frisch, Mercurio, and Cozy.
Kyle Riley, who is running up in the top 15, is going to be bringing it into the pits now, trying to get a slight advantage on the rest of the field and hoping that he gain more time. Brad Wright has officially parked that 80 machine after the contact that he had back with Carmichael of the 49 about 10, 15 laps ago.
That is, if I recall correctly, I think the second straight week that Brad Wright has had a car capable of winning the race and been caught up in something around the midway portion of the race and brings it to the garage area. That is a tough break for Brad Wright, who just about every week for the past 4 weeks has been a contender to possibly take a checkered flag, just circumstances not working out in his favor.
And still watching to see drivers more coming into the pits here, as it's going to be Arnold Columbia now coming into the pits. So right now, everyone that's up front, they've been out there for 34 laps. If they push it to the end as far as they can go, they're going to be coming into the pits here in the next 20 laps, which is going to leave us with about 28 laps to go-ish for these drivers. I mean, it's going to be a short run. And the question is, do you pit earlier than what you need to? I think a lot of the drivers are focusing on being that last car to pit, so you have that advantage of the freshest tires moving forward.
Well, I think they're also doing the same thing that they did back on the first run. You talked about you don't want to run the risk of a caution coming out and being trapped a lap down. Well, we saw a caution come out right in the middle of green flag pit stop. So I think these drivers are thinking the same thing here. Look at the difference of new tires to old as Arnold Columbia, high, wide, and handsome around the 31 of Derek Justice. I believe the 00 of Jake Poulin was just on pit road, making his final stop of the day as well. Question is, though, what about some of these other drivers? Because we did see some of these guys that are up inside of the top 10 actually elect to come down pit road early. Dylan Alt is one of the drivers that springs to mind, and right now he's in the 11th position.
Yeah, trying to just stay up there, continue to run your race that you need to run. But, man, behind Alt, he has been seeing a lot of action as Andrew Schwartz, who started back in 17th on older tires as well, now is finally seeing the equalizing of the tires of the cars that he's around. Now is able to move forward up to 13th place.
Looking at the 62 there of Kyle Riley, he just made his way around this battle for third between Briar LaPrade, Brandon Hawkins, and Brian Mercurio. The reason why that's important, why that's significant, is these drivers are running about 3 seconds behind Derek Justice. There's no doubt in my mind the way the 62 blew around these guys, he is more than likely going to be able to unlap himself the hard way before Derek Justice even entertains ideas of coming to pit road.
And drivers are now trying to set up and coming into the pits. For some of them, they feel like, hey, we're at the marker where I feel comfortable. Things are going to march and hit right. As I know King Cook is a fan of seeing that 62 unlap himself the hard way, because then that would put King Cook, the first car, one lap down. But it's nerve-wracking right now for Kane Cook. Right now, 25th position, has to pit one more time. Looking like might be aiming for like a 28th, 29th place finish for that 55 machine of Kane Cook. The 58 of Michael Frisch, still 8 laps down, and is probably not going to be gaining any laps back unless there is a major caution that takes cars out of this race.
Well, with the departure of Brad Wright, Frisch has been able to work his way now into the 38th position, so he has been able to pick up a couple of spots of drivers that have either DNF'd or had connection issues of their own. He also passed Noah Carmichael for what was then 39th place, so he is picking up spots little by little, which he has to do because every position is a point, and every point that he picks up here today could be an all-important point when we get to the elimination race at Martinsville.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about trying to stay with it, get as many points as possible. I mean, there's other leagues that we've been watching where, other leagues that we broadcast, where some drivers we expect probably should have been knocked out of some leagues, out of some playoff spots, but due to the fact that even if they get into an accident, they keep on just chugging along, staying in the race. Yes, they might be finishing in the back of the field, but they're not last, are getting enough points to make it to the next round.
Absolutely. Now, we saw Kyle Riley unlap himself just a few moments ago from the 31 of Derek Justice. Right now, Riley is in the, I believe, 20th position last car on the lead lap. I have to wonder, obviously he, I think, can make it on fuel, but at what point does Kyle Riley's tires equal out to the tires Derek Justice has right now and take away that 62 cars advantage in terms of speed?
I mean, at the moment, it's about 1.5 seconds difference. He's been running for 9 laps now. It probably will equal out here probably in the next 5 to 8 laps or so. It doesn't take long for these tires just to drop off, and then they kind of plateau where they're at. So all these drivers running hard. Kyle Riley trying to get as much of a lead on everyone else that's pitting now.
Well, it's a gutsy call there for Kyle Riley as Will Norton's on pit road based on the fact that these drivers only have 4 sets of tires to utilize here tonight at Homestead Miami Speedway, and they've already used at least 2 sets, the sets that they started on and the sets that they got under the caution flag. A couple of other drivers, of course, got theirs under green flag conditions prior to that yellow coming out. But Justice continues to show the way. Best Battle continues to be back here. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. These guys all in close proximity to each other. Mercurio, Hawkins, as well as Briar LaPrade. And you've got a couple of lap machines intermingled there as well.
Yeah, they keep on just staying right on top of one another, really not giving any breathing room for anyone. And now they're actually bringing in a couple of other drivers to try to join in that are on lap cars with fresher tires. Speaking of tires and looking at cars they're going to have to pit here soon, Dylan Alt as well as Andrew Schwartz, they've been out there for 51 laps. They're probably going to be thinking about pitting here in the next 5 to 6 laps or so, which they're going to be at a disadvantage. But if they pit early enough, they might be able to gain enough of a gap on the cars that they are in front of or behind.
Like Ryan Doucette, yeah, he was on pit road about 3 laps ago. You could clearly tell that he was on fresher tires, getting around. Oh, we got a spinner! Spinner in the infield there on the back straightaway. I think Seth DeMerchant got into someone as he is slow on the back stretch as well, going into 3. Couldn't tell who that car is, though, spinning through the infield grass.
I'm trying to see back who exactly that was. That was Michael Frisch that went for a ride there.
And the 58, unfortunately for him, spun down to the infield grass away from traffic, so no yellow flag is thrown. Not sure what the contact was between himself and Seth DeMerchant, but I saw the damage there as well on the 59. I'm pretty sure those were the 2 that got together, more than likely out of the second corner.
Yeah, most likely. Ooh, a driver in our top 10 coming into the pits. First car, Briar LaPrade, our pole sitter.
Derek Justice really backed his pace down there out of turn 2. That's the 46 that's going around him on the outside line. Robert Dorman, who was on pit road about 6 laps ago, so he's got those fresher tires.
Yeah, Kane Cook was hoping for that caution to come out. He is still the first car 1 lap down, and he is soon to not be the first car 1 lap down because Ryan Doucette is coming in that 75 machine to take that position away. As now Briar LaPrade will be at the moment, and he loses that spot. So everyone that's 1 lap down, they're chasing after Kane Cook as that car, and where he's running, he is the first car 1 lap down. If a caution comes out, he'll get the lucky dog.
Yeah, and you asked the question of what might have been for Kane Cook had he not missed the start of the race. I mean, look where he's running right now, behind Brandon Hawkins. If he were on the lead lap, he'd be in the 5th position, inside of the top 5 currently, which obviously would be a great start here to his round of 8, but that is not where he is running. He is currently 1 lap down, currently scored in the 18th position, but still in the free pass spot.
And Dylan Alt, now he'll be around drivers that are going 3 wide behind him and having fun, as DeMerchant and Strauss still on top of one another.
Yeah, those 2, they've been racing each other pretty aggressively here the last 20 or so laps. Here comes David Shieldhouse in the 20. He's going to catch up there. There's the 52 of Benjamin Fanning, who I think they took 3 wide over there going into turn 1. Adam Kodal there as well. Right now, the only 2 cars in the lead lap in this group are the 5 and the 59. As whoa, Strauss keeps drifting up there as here comes Dylan Alt in the 40.
Dylan Alt's coming. We did just miss. Alt spun on pit road. He got into the inside wall, and he might have been speeding there, so that could have been a double whammy for himself on the fact that he will be most likely having to stay on pit road longer for damage, as well as the penalty that he's going to have to serve. Andrew Schwartz, though, has pitted. He did that about 2 laps ago for the 67. Right now running in 26th place, 1 lap down.
Daniel Day is on pit road this lap as well, waiting to see if anybody else ducks onto pit road
Yellow's
here.
out. Kyle O'Reilly involved in this one.
Oh man, Kyle O'Reilly was trying some strategy and it was working for him. He was in the 13th, actually a 15th position at the time, had raced his way back on the lead lap, and trouble on the back straightaway for the Outback Toyota Supra.
Oh, I think he might have. Oh, that is so hard to see exactly. Believe that's Cosmin Nishinoshu in the 84 that came down and might have spun out Riley, but they both were looking for the same real estate there.
Yeah, almost looks like Cosmin got loose off the corner. And when that car gets loose, your first instinct is to turn it to the left and try and save it, try and drive it straight. And unfortunately for Kyle Riley, he was to the inside. I think that was for position at the time as well, a battle for 14th place.
Ryan Doucette will be your lucky dog driver there. Kane Cook missed out by 2 laps.
And you talked about the fact that Doucette was on those fresh tires, breathing down the neck of Kane Cook to get that free pass position. He did indeed get it. However, this traps some pretty good cars down a lap as well. Briar LaPrade is now trapped a lap down. Dylan Alt's trapped a lap down. Undoubtedly, these drivers will be taking the wave arounds here, but losing out on quite a bit of very valuable track position that they had prior to that yellow.
Yeah, and with that track position gone, now everything's going to get reset. You are inside of that window to make it to the end on this pit stop, and this could be our final pit stop of the day unless we have a late caution. But with some of the way these drivers have been racing and the fact that we're not in that 20 laps to go marker, I'm pretty sure we might be seeing another caution come out.
I think if you're Kane Cook, the answer's clear. You can't possibly hope to take a wave around here and get a quick yellow because he's been out there for 52 laps on his set of tires. However, this is only the second caution that we've worked here tonight. We've run over 100 laps with the yellow flag only waving twice. We're going to be going back green with less than 30 to go. Something tells me now the aggressiveness is going to ramp up, especially back in the middle of the field, like we've seen the 3 wide racing in that area of the track or of the field all this race long. We may not be done with cautions, so I don't want to say that Kane Cook is done in this race because he certainly isn't. There's limited number of laps, but certainly an opportunity here to still get that lucky dog.
Yeah, it's still there, and the potential is still there. I was rewatching pit entry because I saw some skid marks. It looked like Septa Merchant almost came in sliding, almost took out the 5 machine. So a little bit of an overzealousness for some of the drivers in the back of the field.
Yeah, I don't know what it is that's going on here tonight between Seth the Merchant and Donovan Strauss. I mean, I think that the two of them, they're having some fun with each other, but there's been some crazy stuff going on in the area of the 59 and the 5 here in the last 50 laps or so, as Derek Justice is going to inherit the lead back. Brian Mercurio, however, how about that pit crew on pit road? They got him out there, gaining him a spot, moving from 3rd up to 2nd on this restart. Blake Reynolds will have to restart back in 3rd with Hawkins and Cozy Jr., the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, the pit stops is key to have, and you want to have the best restarts you can, but I'll be honest, I'm pretty sure I'd rather be in 3rd place following the 31 machine on these restarts because he's been getting a fabulous restart every single time he's been up front, and I don't know if Blake Reynolds is going to be able to keep up with him. I mean, this is going to be a key point here. Can we see the 3 machine stick with the 31 on these restarts?
Yeah, what was the main point that we kept talking about with Derek Justice back when he would take his victories? Was he was so good at mixing up the restarts. Nobody was ready for when he would accelerate, and he did it here earlier on the first restart of the day, and expecting he's going to probably mix it up again here on this second restart, heading down the home stretch here at Homestead Miami Speedway. Let's try and update you on where all of your 8 playoff contenders coming into this race, where they're currently at. Pretty easy to tell where three of them are. They're the top three. Derek Justice in the lead, Brian Mercurio in second, Blake Reynolds is in third. Michael Cozy Jr. in the top five. He is in the fifth position. You got to go all the way down to 18th place. That's where you find Dylan Alt. Now, he did take the wave around. He is still on the lead lap. Same for Andrew Schwartz. He's going to restart in 22nd. Kane Cook is in the free pass position should a caution come out. He is the first car one lap down in the 25th spot. And we've already documented the struggles of Michael Frisch here this evening. 58 runs 6 laps down, currently in the 38th position. And that's where your 8 drivers that are still in the hunt for this championship are going to restart here with what looks like is going to be 26 laps to go.
26 laps to go, and it's going to be a wild one. I don't think that we are done with cautions just yet. Based on how these drivers have been running this race, and the aggression level is going to ramp up as we are green once again.
You saw there, Blake Reynolds was ready to go. Justice backed him up on that inside line. Now he edges ahead. That outside line of Brian Mercurio trying to get the second position, but not quite clear on Reynolds going into one.
As they continue to be fanning out and trying to figure out where they're going to be placed, it's that battle for second place where it just is ramping up, and you really don't know where the drivers are going to be.
It's going to be interesting here too, because obviously these drivers, they want to finish the best they can here tonight at Homestead, but at the same time, you don't want to be overly aggressive, wreck yourself out in the closing stages, and find yourself in a points hole going into North Wilkesboro next week.
No, you really don't want to be having any type of issues like that going into 2 short tracks here to finish out how this race is going to go, as everyone is just going to be trying to gain as much time as possible here. There's some drivers in the back that are on much older tires than the rest of the field, and they're going to be losing a lot of positions here.
Michael Cozy Jr. Oh, we got a spinner in the back. I think that might have been the 17 of Reese Baham. No, it wasn't. It was a red, white, and blue machine. I couldn't tell who it was.
It was the 2 machine.
Jonathan Palmieri going around the back straightaway. We've got some more smoke up there in turn 3. I think that's from a car that might be blinking. No caution, however, for the incident on the back straightaway.
And they're still running hard for third place. It's Hawkins right on the 99 machine.
Braden Hawkins, Michael Cozy Jr., a couple of 2-time winners duking it out for that third spot. Behind them, Donovan Strauss, last week's winner. He's trying to look to the inside of Mercurio. Mercurio went to throw the block, but couldn't do it. The 5 is there.
And just like that, Brian Mercurio, he just went from a solid restart, having a great pit stop, to now dropping all the way back to 5th place for that 41 machine.
Now Donovan Strauss trying to take away that 5th position. He will do so, dropping Mercurio back to 6th. There's Kane Cook. He's hoping, he's praying, he's pleading for a caution. Right now, he is in the free pass position should a yellow flag come out. But it all depends on what happens back here in the middle portion of the field. Seth DeMerchant all over the back bumper of Kevin McAdams. There's Ryan Doucette in the mix as well.
Yeah, DeMerchant as well as Strauss, 2 drivers that were on much older tires on that last green flag stint. They now are on equal ground, and both of them are very quick and could be challenging for our front top 3.
I believe that 12 drivers up here in this lead group were drivers that were on the lead lap when the caution came out. One of the drivers that took the wave around is 13th place. That is Briar LaPrade. Dylan Alt back there in the 40 is 14th. Will Norton in the 25 is 15th. Those 3 drivers took the wave around. They've been able to work their way up into the top 15, even on those older tires.
Yeah, older tires or not, they're still going to be racing extremely hard here, as Kyle Riley's still in the pits and others still in there, which is now given Michael Frisch just an update on the back. He's now moved up to 36th position with all the cars that have had issues so far.
Continuing to pick up spots and thusly pick up points is Michael Frisch. As up at the front, breakaway Justice over Reynolds, then another breakaway before you get to this lineup of Hawkins, Michael Cozy Jr., Donovan Strauss, Sean Butler, Brian Mercurio, and just in the tail end of this group, you've got John Poole III in that Nintendo Switch 76.
Yeah, JP3 going to be trying to make as many moves forward as possible. Right now in 8th place, a solid run for the 76 machine.
Third decklet full of Kevin McAdams as Poole runs in 8th, McAdams in 9th. Really surprised that the field has gotten themselves this spread out. I was expecting to see the double and 3-wide racing again, but they're pretty much single file, at least up here inside of the top 10.
It's recognizing, hey, if we have a caution here, it's going to just bring more and more going on. I think my biggest comeback story has to be the 17 in 12th place. That's going to be Reese Baham that really had an awful first 20 laps, was just dropping back, hitting the wall, finds himself 12th place at the moment.
Great run for him here, and what I believe is his first start of the season. He's got Briar LaPrade behind him. LaPrade on 6-lap older tires, still being able to reel in that 17 car for what's going to be a battle for 12th place. As Ryan Doucette making some moves up here. He just got around John Poole III, move him into the top 10, as now he's all over the back bumper of the 59 of DeMerchant.
I'm keeping my eyes out on Dylan Olt as well as Schwartz and seeing how well they can get through the field, as they've been staying around 14th and 17th in the middle of the field all race long. They're trying to move themselves up into the top 10, top 15.
Michael Cozy Jr. was trying to get up there to Donovan Strauss to battle for 4th, but now he has the lap machine of Kane Cook going by him on the inside. That's actually going to drop Michael Cozy Jr. back into the clutches of the Pennzoil Ford of Sean Butler.
The laps are ticking away, and Derek Justice has hit that moment in the run where he just starts to slowly pull away from Blake Reynolds. And I don't think there's anyone that could really catch up to Derek Justice at this moment if we stay green.
We mentioned it, that Derek Justice coming into this race on nearly a 4-month winless streak, trying to punch his ticket into the Final Four at ISM Raceway in a few weeks. And he is about 16 laps away from doing so. The battle for second is starting to close up a bit. Brandon Hawkins saw him running a lower line there through 3 and 4. He's closed the gap up now to 3/10 between himself and Reynolds.
Yeah, he's catching up to Reynolds and, this 89 machine trying to get a good run. And this could possibly be hurting a lot of drivers if we start to see Blake Reynolds drop back and lose positions as he's trying to stay with as many points ahead of everyone else, so he doesn't have to worry about points in these next 2 races.
Donovan Strauss trying to go for back-to-back victories after he won at the Charlotte Roval. Looking in lap times right now, out of the top 4, he was the 4th fastest car. This time by, he was the fastest car of the top 5.
It's wicked speed and going to be trying to move up through the field. This 5 machine is quick, and someone to really don't lose now. Don't lose your eyes now. This driver could go back-to-back.
15 laps to go. These drivers have had 2 really long green flag runs trying to finish this thing out green to the checkers as Brandon Hawkins able to get that car to rotate really nicely through the center, drove it deep off of turn 4 but could not get the run down the straightaway, continues to put pressure on the back bumper of Blake Reynolds, and the longer this battle goes on, here comes Donovan Strauss, here comes the lap machine of Kane Cook.
Yeah, and the driver that's loving this even more is that Derek Justice could just pull away, but
Thought I saw some sparks there off of the right rear fender of the Coca-Cola Chevrolet. He may be feeling the pressure of Brandon Hawkins and may be trying to get back to the throttle way sooner than he needs to off of turn 2.
I mean, you got to try to keep yourself in second place to Blake Reynolds. He has to make sure that he can get the most amount of points possible if he isn't going to be winning this race. And so that's why we're seeing the 3 push as hard as he is right now.
Donovan Strauss now, as Brandon Hawkins had to check up, he's going to look maybe to the inside of Brandon Hawkins, down here into 3 for 3rd place. Further back, some great battling going on here. This is 7th, 8th, and 9th. Sean Butler, Kevin McAdams, Ryan Doucette, as McAdams is going to move his way up into the 7th spot. Doucette looking to move up into 8th.
And right now, Dylan Olt has moved up to 12th place, and Strauss up to 15th. So they're still trying to move up the best that they can at the moment.
Couple of Fords going to go side by side for 8th place. Still side by side off of turn 2. Doucette, who I believe has 2 lap fresher tires than Sean Butler, will probably get the advantage down here into 3 and will do so further up. Brandon Hawkins to the inside of Blake Reynolds. Here comes Strauss looking 3 wide for the runner-up spot.
They are going to be pushing it so hard here, and Strauss not afraid to put this bumper where it really shouldn't be. I mean, that is a championship contender that you just went 3 wide with at the end of the race.
There's Kane Cook. He's going to go side by side there with Blake Reynolds. That's not for position. The lap down machine of the 55 trying to pass the 4th place car of Blake Reynolds.
Yeah, right now, Kane Cook, he's got his eyes set to try to find and catch up to the 53 of Justin Malello so he can gain another position here. Malello on much older tires, and due to the fact that we are coming to 10 laps to go and they cross the line again, I mean, it's going to be close between Kane Cook and Malello if Kane Cook can get another position after the awful start that he had to this race.
But we have to remember, 43 drivers took the green to start this race. Kane Cook was in 43rd because he started from pit road. He looks like he could be possibly finishing this race in the 23rd position. That's a net gain of 20 spots, spending the entire race one lap down. So while in the terms of the point standings, looking into North Wilkesboro next week, while that's not exactly that great, it certainly is a lot better than it could have been for the 55 car.
The 52 machine of Fanning did almost bring out a caution here with less than 10 laps to go. Luckily, it was on the backstretch off the racing surface, but that 52 machine got loose out of 2 and into the inside wall.
And as we get closer to the end of this race, the longer we're into this run, we may see a lot more of that, so there is the possibility that a caution could be coming out in the closing stages. We'll have to keep an eye on that. As the battle for second place back on again. This time, though, Hawkins has it, and it's going to be Strauss that's trying to reel him in for the spot.
And more cars, actually, machines that feel like they cannot make it to the end have to come into pit road and do some services now. But up front, Derek Justice is pulling away with the 1.5 second lead over Brandon Hawkins and has not looked back. And once he took off from that last restart.
There's Brian Mercurio. He took a peek there moments ago on Michael Cozy Jr. That's to move back into the top 5. Ryan Doucette right there as well. So that's 5th, 6th, and 7th, with Kevin McAdams just back there as well, trying to make it a 4-man fight for a spot up inside of the top 5 running order.
Trying to do the best work that they can and gain as many positions as possible. As right now, not a lot of movements going on for the drivers that are outside of the top 10 for our drivers that are hunting for the championship. But Derek Justice is coming up to lap traffic, but will they be an issue here coming to these final couple of laps?
That was the 53 of Justin Malello, who looks like he is either going down the access road to get out of the way of the leaders, or he may be coming down pit road here in that Ford Mustang as Justice hits the line. 6 laps to go here, and let's see if he is going to be catching any more traffic. Yes, he does have a car just up ahead of him who almost spun out there off of turn 2.
Yeah, I mean, lap traffic right now. Derek Justice is clinching at every single time he sees someone. He doesn't want a caution. He doesn't want anyone to wreck in front of him and collect them. This is a championship setting win that could be putting him and notching his ticket into the Final Four.
I mean, can you imagine the relief knowing you have 2 tracks in your future, North Wilkesboro and Martinsville? You could go into those races, you could wreck, you could start and park, it doesn't matter. You're locked into the championship 4. I mean, I can't imagine 2 more intimidating tracks to be going to, knowing that a championship spot is on the line.
Kane Cook could be finding himself possibly with a 23rd position here as Briar LaPrade had to pull it into the pits.
That's interesting because LaPrade, I believe, was one of the wave-around cars, and I think he was only about 6 laps shorter on fuel than everybody else, and we're taking 4 laps to go. So these guys, if they are making it on fuel, they're going to be maybe only about 2 laps to the good.
And due to some of the accidents that have happened so far, Michael Frisch, at one point we were saying maybe he might finish in 37th place, finds himself in 34th.
Battle for the 3rd position. Actually, no, this is actually not a battle for position. It's actually the 55 of Kane Cook on the back bumper of Donovan Strauss, who was actually starting to make a challenge on Brandon Hawkins for 2nd, but now has kind of fallen off just a bit. So a little bit of daylight between 2nd back to 3rd, and then from 3rd back to 4th, which right now is Blake Reynolds. The man on the move, though, is that 75 of Ryan Doucette. In the last 20 laps, he has moved from 12th up to 5th and looking for more with 3 to go.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Doucette's just been figuring out this track the more and more it's been going on, and that's why he finds himself in the top 5, about to be for 4th as he's trying to push Blake Reynolds back another position. I mean, this is what was looking like a decent, 2nd place finish for Blake Reynolds. He's been shoved back 3 spots so far in the last couple of positions.
And that's why these non-playoff drivers play such a huge role into the championship battle, because with Doucette making the pass here on Blake Reynolds, that is a position and a point that Blake Reynolds would lose if the 75 gets around. But Derek Justice, I mean, look at the gap back there. It's a gaggle of cars from second place on back, but it's all 1.8 seconds behind the Baskin-Robbins Toyota Supra of Derek Justice, who's going to breathe a sigh of relief because he's going to see the white flag in the flagman's hands.
White flag is in the air, and Derek Justice, he is amped up. All he has to do is just make it around these final corners. If a yellow flag comes out, he will win this thing. He's just going to survive another 2 corners.
It has been an 11-race winless streak for Derek Justice, stretching all the way back to the middle of June. But it's about to come to an end, and Derek Justice is about to punch his ticket into the Final Four to compete for the championship at Phoenix Raceway in 3 weeks' time, as off turn 4, Derek Justice is going to win here tonight at Homestead.
Derek Justice is going to get the win, and the cars behind them, they fan out a bit. But man, Derek Justice, he will be making it to the next. He's going to be fighting for this championship now, and it's so much relief now on this 31 machine. But for the rest of the drivers that are not secured, this is going to be the toughest 2 weeks probably they could ever possibly think of.
Blake Reynolds will get 4th, Michael Cozy Jr. 6th, Brian Mercurio was in 7th, Dylan Alt crosses 12th, Andrew Schwartz in 14th. Those were the lead lap cars of our playoff contenders. Kane Cook will finish 22nd, the first car 1 lap down, and Michael Frisch was able to work his way up to 34th here in the finishing results. Derek Justice, the patented backing up right to the wall on the start-finish line before he will be burning it down here for the race fans at the Homestead Miami Speedway. We take a look here at the finishing results, and if you looked at a lot of these drivers' day, it might look like somebody's heart rate or somebody's pulse up and down and up and down. I mean, we saw Donovan Strauss. He fell outside of the top 10 at one point. He fought his way back up to 3rd. Ryan Doucette was a lap down a couple of times, had to take some waiver rounds when he made a green flag pit stop and a caution would come out. He gets a top 5. Seth the Merchant, our pole sitter, he had an up and down day. And how about Kevin McAdams and Sean Butler sneaking out some top 10 runs there as well?
Yeah, I mean, really looking at Michael Cozy Jr., that 99 machine, he was just running in the top 5 all race long. We didn't really talk about him that much. He just consistent, stayed out of trouble. A great run for that 99 machine.
John Poole III, his best finish of the season in 11th. Dylan Alt, another playoff contender, 12th, with Schwartz there in 14th. Bookending Reese Baham, great run there for him in his first start, 13th place. Will Norton in his first start, a 15th place run. As we look on down through the rest of the finishing results, and the 2 drivers that I guess we could say going into North Wilkesboro next week in a spot of trouble, Kane Cook in the 55, Michael Frisch in the 58.
Yeah, I think Frisch probably in the biggest issue there. Kane Cook was able to rebound a lot better than I think I was expecting him to be able to rebound. Just, luck was not on the side of that 55 machine. Just hoping next week will be a lot better for Kane Cook.
Well, we're going to be going to North Wilkesboro, a track that is somewhat similar to that we were at previously this season, Lucas Oil Raceway. Michael Frisch took the checkered flag there. If we're also looking at another short track at Iowa, Kane Cook was the winner there. So maybe these drivers not feeling quite as much pressure going into a short track, knowing that they are going to have to perform well because their numbers at the short tracks this season, pretty good. Let's see if we can get some of our top 3 finishers here from tonight's event. And let's see if we can get 3rd place finisher Donovan Strauss. Looks like we do have him, so let's get a word with him. Hey, Donovan, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, man, I mean, you took the checkered flag at the Charlotte Roval last week. You bring it home with a 3rd place run here this week. But, man, we saw you up at the front early on. You then went back into traffic, and it looked like a lot of wild racing back there. Double wide, 3 wide. But what was it here with the track conditions and the setup that you guys were able to race that hard but still keep from leaning and wrecking each other?
Well, early on, I was just chilling in line, and I pit during green flag pit stops, and a caution came out, so that kind of put me a lap down. And then I had to take the wave around. I was around like 18th, and I just followed my teammates at the Merchant through the field, and we got to like 9th, but we were like 4 seconds back, so we were just kind of racing each other. And I started, I started running a weird line where I'd just full throttle in on the bottom and just let it roll up to the top, and then just come off the corner, and it's kind of working a little bit. So I just kept doing it, and I was just doing it for fun at that point. And then caution came out. We pit. I restarted like 7th and got up to 3rd, and I figured some stuff out there at the end that I think I was matching Derek's times a lot of laps, but Derek is just insane at this track, man. It's hard to beat him.
Yeah, dominant. I mean, let's be honest. You were insane back there doing those different lines that were crazy to see. Was there anything else that you possibly could have done there with how close everyone was at the end?
At the end, I couldn't have. I was trying to actually get second, and I was just running the line that everyone else was running. You just want to stay right on the seam up until off the corner. So I was just trying to do that and get a run on Brandon at the end right there, and I did, but wasn't enough to pass him. I think if I had a few more laps, maybe I could have. But like I said, Derek was way out there.
Well, Donovan, we know obviously that you're good at the road courses with your win at the Charlotte Roval. You're good here at the mile and a half with a podium finish here tonight at Homestead, Miami. But we got 2 short tracks coming up here for the last 2 races of this round of 8. We got North Wilkesboro next week, and then in 3 weeks' time, we go to Martinsville. What's your mindset going into those races?
Obviously I'm a non-playoff driver, so I'm trying to come here and race for wins at this point, and I think I'm pretty good at North Wilkesboro, so that'll be fun, and Martinsville, to be honest. So I'm really looking forward to those 2 tracks actually.
Well, back-to-back podium finishes here in the FTF Grand National Series for you. A win and a 3rd place here tonight. Great performances, great consistency we've seen out of you in the last 2 weeks. Hopefully you can carry that into North Wilkesboro next week. For now, Donovan, we're going to turn the microphone over and let you do some shout-outs.
Shout out to all my guys at Horizon Racing Team for all they do for me on the open side of things. Shout out to JDR Graphics for all he's done for me and all he's continued to do for me. And that's about it.
That's Donovan Strauss, brings it home 3rd place here tonight in a wild win at Homestead Miami Speedway. Again, congrats on a great run, and we look forward to seeing what you could do next week at North Wilkesboro.
Thank you.
Let's see if we can now go and get our 2nd place finisher, Brandon Hawkins. Hey, Brandon, it's Seth and Sam up here in the Fly Racing Network Studios. You got us?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Well, I mean, man, first off, I got to apologize to you because the calculator in my head steered you wrong last week. I said you were locked into the playoffs. You weren't. We got the official word. But, I mean, man, still great run here tonight. 2nd place performance. We saw you up in the top 5 all race long, but kind of looked like towards the end of that run, heading towards the checkered flag, like you were starting to back off your pace just a little bit there. Was the tire starting to come into play, or was the 31 just that much better on the long run?
Yeah, the 31 was great on the long run all night. So, yeah, I don't think I had anything for him. But, yeah, I was just trying to keep the tires on as best as I could. But yeah, near the end there, I think my front started to fall off there a little bit. So I had a lot of pressure from behind from Donovan there. He raced me really clean, and yeah, just really great running up front all night. That was, I think that was just probably the first time I've done that on an oval other than Oxford. So I'm really happy about that, and hopefully we can continue to work on the mile and a halves and 2 miles, and yeah, see if we can do this regularly because it's a lot of fun running up there.
Obviously we've seen here tonight, Homestead was all about tires. You guys got into some long green flag runs, not once, but twice. But then right in the middle of green flag pit stops, when drivers are trying to kind of leapfrog there and gain the advantage with the fresher tires, we had cautions come out. How difficult was it, not knowing if a yellow flag was going to come out or not? Was it to strategize on maybe coming to pit road a little bit earlier than you planned?
Yeah, you never know. I mean, but it has been a trend a lot of the time where like the longer you stay out, the better, because the caution's like probably gonna happen, or at least it seems like that. So yeah, it's definitely the safest bet. But if the cautions didn't come out, the people who pitted earlier, I think, would have been in a really good spot. But yeah, it's just you never know really. So yeah, you just gotta do what you feel's best and stick with that. And luckily it worked out tonight, having the cautions going out during green flag pit stops, and it worked out well.
You mentioned having a good run at the Oxford Plains a couple weeks before that. You had a good run at Lucas Oil, so you're pretty good at the short tracks. We got 2 of them coming up here in the next 3 weeks. Next week, you guys are going to be going to North Wilkesboro, and then 3 weeks' time, you're going to Martinsville. What's the mindset going into the short track races?
Well, since we're not in the championship hunt, we're just going to go all out. I think, of course, we'll have to be mindful of everybody still fighting for the final 4, but we'll just go out and have fun. I think. There's really no pressure. So, especially Martinsville, I'm really looking forward to that. So, should be a good time on both of them.
Well, Brandon, obviously a great run for you here tonight. Second place run. I believe it's back-to-back top 5s for you as well, bridging off of last week at the Charlotte Roval. So some great momentum here and getting closer to the end of the season, and looking forward to seeing what you can do when we get to North Wilkesboro next week. But for now, we're going to turn the microphone over to you and let you do some shout-outs.
Yeah, just like to shout out you guys in the booth, all the FTF admins, and everybody who helps makes this thing happen. It's a great series. All my fellow competitors. It's been a really great season, and thank you guys, and thanks to everybody watching.
As Brandon Hawkins brings it home, second place here tonight at Homestead Miami Speedway. Once again, congratulations, and we look forward to seeing how you carry this momentum into North Wilkesboro next week.
Thanks, guys.
And let's go down to Victory Lane, where Derek Justice is standing by. Hey, Derek, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
I sure do.
Well, man, I had to do a double take and a triple take when I looked at the statistics coming into this one when I saw your 31 car out in front. All the way back to June 20th, 11 races ago, your last trip to Victory Lane at the Chicagoland Speedway. Tonight, you lock yourself into the Final 4. Which does it take precedence for you with this win? The fact that you were able to snap that winless streak, or the fact you now know you're going into North Wilkesboro and Martinsville competing for a championship?
Well, I was usually I'm never in these servers, like when the server starts, and I do not like Homestead, and I still don't, even though I've won here. It's just me and Homestead have a long history of bad things happen or things just don't go my way when it comes to championship races. When Homestead used to be a championship race, but I was determined today, and we got the job done. And especially, I didn't want to race my way through the championship through North Wilkesboro and then Martinsville, so that's a lot off my plate.
Now, with North Wilkesboro and Martinsville coming up, do you head into those racetracks just with the kind of survival type mentality, or do you go out there and try and win those 2 races as well, trying to keep up the momentum for when you eventually do get to Phoenix?
I really don't know what the plan is yet. I mean, there is no championship points going in the final round, so that it's pretty much meaningless if I do win. But every racetrack I go to, I'm here to win, so that's always the mindset for me. So if it keeps another a contender that I think is a threat, and I need a win to not make him go to the next round, then I'm gonna go for the win. So
obviously here tonight we ended up having the potentiality of 2 green flag pit stop cycles completely going around, but we had some cautions come out right in the middle of both of them. How difficult did that make it to try and decide, do I want to try and stretch this fuel as far as possible just in case a caution comes out, or do I maybe want to come down pit road and short pit, take advantage of about the second and a half fresher tires?
When I was out in the lead and I was stretching my lead quite a bit, my primary focus is the playoff drivers. Like, I saw Breyer and Donnie pit behind me, but they're not in the playoff. So, I kept on telling myself, just keep on staying out until you see like Michael Cozy, Blake, or Brennan Hawkins, or somebody that's in the playoff contention pit. And so that's when I can pull the trigger if I need to.
Well, Derek, obviously, it's great to be able to see you back in Victory Lane. We now know that you're going to be one of our 4 drivers that will be competing for the championship when we eventually get to Phoenix later on here in November. We're going to turn the microphone over to you now. Let's do some shout-outs.
Yeah, shout out to y'all for obviously probably putting on a fantastic broadcast, first and foremost. Shout out to my pro team that we're going to compete in the Pro Series here in this winter. North Force Racing, I think we got a lot of confidence succeed in there. Shout out to Baskin Robbins, Buck Kicker. There's just so many things going to Toyota. And obviously my Twitch chat that's always been supporting me since day one. And shout out to you guys on YouTube, man.
That's Derek Justice. Brings it home in victory lane here at the Homestead Miami Speedway. The place, as he said, where most of the champions have been crowned in the past, but it is his ticket into the championship for in a few weeks' time when we get to Phoenix Raceway. Congrats there, Derek. We look forward to seeing you in that championship for and seeing if you can bring home that championship trophy.
All right. Thanks, Seth.
And another FTF race is in the books. 2 races remain, Sam. 3 spots still up for grabs. And before we came here onto the broadcast, you said out of the 3 races these drivers had to tackle here in this round of 8, North Wilkesboro is going to be the toughest.
Yeah, it's going to be the shortest. It's going to be close contact. I mean, Martinsville is going to be insane as well for these drivers, and it's just short track racing to the fullest. And you're hoping that you don't get collected in the big one that's going to happen, because most likely there is going to be a lot of accidents happening at these short tracks. You hope for a long run, but the potential of being caught up in something silly is always there. And especially for Kane Cook and Michael Frisch, that didn't have the best races today due to different circumstances that happened to them, of starting on pit road at the start for Kane Cook and having internet issues for Frisch. Those are factors that really are stuff that is frustrating as a racer to deal with. But now you got 2 more races to try to rebound from these issues.
What also I find interesting, North Wilkesboro, they're running 200 laps. Only 3 sets of tires will be available to them there. 150 laps at Martinsville, only 2 sets of tires available to them there. So a lot of decision-making going to have to take place at both of those short tracks.
Yeah, it's going to be a ton of decisions to be trying to figure out, when do I really need my tires and when do I not need them.
Well, it's going to be a wild one next week, as another playoff spot may be up for grabs when we get to North Wilkesboro. That's going to be the second race of this round of 8. LSR TV is going to have the call there. Then we're going to be back here with Flatout Racing Network after an off week on November the 7th, as we'll be bringing you the final race leading up to the championship 4 at the Paperclip Short Track of Martinsville. That is going to be a wild one. The season finale at ISM Raceway will be over on LSR TV as well. So be sure to be tuning in to all 3 of these races, as it's going to be determining who's going to be the champion here in the FTF Grand National Series. Sam, for another time here tonight, appreciate you joining me in the booth here for a crazy one at Homestead.
Yeah, it's been a crazy one for sure. And it's always a pleasure to be in the booth with you, Seth.
Derek Justice punches his ticket into the championship 4 at ISM with his win here tonight at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Thanks everyone for tuning in this evening. Hope that you guys enjoyed our coverage as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.